It's like more than a month or so since last time to do bridge lectures. But anyways, we've done all with the non-competitive bidding, which is just done by 2 players in a team. So we're going to move on to competitive or defensive bidding by some people. The bidding is not for the opening player's pair, but the other pair as well. So here's a few terms for competitive bidding. Basically, we use the term interference for any bids made by the other pair who has not opened yet. Instead, they join the bidding later when their opponents open the auction. Next is the term aggressor, which means the first to interfere for the other pair. We usually call the term overcaller or doubler, but generally these are all in the concept of the aggressor. Next is advancer, which means aggressor's partner. So, simply enough, if one pair opens the auction, the other 2 players would either pass or open on their own as well for their pair. But on perspective of the other players, this would be interference. The player who initiated the interference is the aggressor, and their partner is the advancer. I didn't have the other pair to join yet for teaching the basics of bidding and such, but since we're done with that, we could move on. Now, this is the usual bids when it comes to non-competitive bidding, unless we get to slams. Except these single cross and double cross stuffs, which I will talk about it later. Now, there's like 21 of the bidding cards, except these. And I didn't include the past bids in here. There's average of 10 bids per person if there were only 2 players bidding. But with all 4 players joining in, there would be about 5 bids per player. It would be divided evenly if the 5 of a minor bids are counted as 1. Because there are some occasions they would reach to there, but it's not as common as 3 no trump or 4 of a major. So there's very limited space than usual non-competitive bidding. Because of that, especially altered treatments, artificial bids and conventions are a must, which would require a lot of memory aid, but don't worry, I can help you get the gist of nearly everything as possible. There are upsides and downsides when it comes to interfering the opponent's auction. Let's look at the upsides first. Interfering the opponent's auction takes away bidding space, which comes some sabotaging in communication of the other pair. Which would sometimes end up the interfering pair to get to the adequate contract. And even if they don't, it will improve on defensive plays. Usually we use the term lead directing to indicate a good suit of the player to lead on that suit when it comes to defensive plays, which I will frequently mention and later show how it works when we're fully done with bidding. But there are downsides as well. When there's enough weak points, there will be risk of getting more down points. Well, bridge is generally a zero-sum game when it comes to duplicates. So you would likely get negative points from getting the contract than having the opponents win their contract and get negative points opposed to the makers. Also, there's information being leaked out by the bidding. It also gives the opponents more options of doubles, redoubles, Q. We generally call it qubits, and passes as other meanings and stuff like that. But overall, it turns out there's more ups than downs when done properly. So, in modern bridge, there's a lot of competitive bidding. Now, here are some of the major treatments when it comes to competitive bidding. Jump bits, which take a lot of space, are usually preemptive or competitive. This is a tactic to gobble up bidding space instead of showing some values. Bidding in the opponent's suit, which are referred as qubits, are usually forcing and show a lot of points. In general, that is. No trump bid is usually used as artificial bids. And doubles or redoubles have their various usages. Originally, they're used to snowball the contract points and overall score as well. Doubles are red cards with a single cross. Redoubles are blue cards with double crosses. Well, all of this are general stuff when it comes to natural bidding systems that are commonly agreed in general. It might not apply to all systems, but it's worth knowing about the common outlines. Of course, you might not get all of this at once, but don't worry, we're going to look everything one by one. One thing you would likely to check when it comes to competitive bidding is vulnerability. The vulnerability status is about getting more down points and bonuses. I wouldn't show you the scoring board because it would get too complicated, but here's the thing. You would likely to be competitive when non-vulnerable, and when vulnerable, you would think twice before you bid, unless you have a good hand. Now, here are 3 statuses, or maybe 4, when it comes to the difference between vulnerability. Favorable is when we are not vulnerable and they're vulnerable. In other words, we have the advantage than them. Equal means having the same status as the other pair. And unfavorable means we're vulnerable and they're not. So we have to be careful because they have the advantage. Also notice the board numbers in here. This is generally how bidding rotation works when it comes to a simple game of Chicago or 4-board. We use colors to indicate vulnerability. Vulnerable status is marked as red, non-vulnerable as white or green. So, favorable can be referred as red on white, unfavorable can be referred as Wait a minute. Hold on. I'll have to fix a bit. By the way, do I look a bit different? In fact, I've changed my hair a bit. can bring the original hair if you want. There. How's it like? Okay, back to the lecture. So they vulnerable status can be called as colors. Non-vulnerable status is as white or green, and vulnerable is marked as red. So, unfavorable can be referred as red on white, favorable can be referred as white on red, and so on. If you're a bit advanced, then you would even consider the differences between red on red and white on green and stuff. The position that you're bidding also matters here. Direct bidding means interfering right after the other pair's bidding. While balancing is when you're at the pass-out seat. That is, one player bids and there's 2 consecutive passes. It's up to you whether you pass or bid anything to get the auction on. Usually on direct seat, things applies as usual, but on balancing seat, there's a bit of a change, like borrowing 3 points from the advancer. We'll get to the balancing bits when we're ready, but here's the general gist right here. The point is to balance out by having a less The point is about having less down points than having the opponents making their contract. Again, this is related to scoring, but I'll explain in detail when the right time comes. So, that's all there is for today's lecture. We general overview about competitive bidding. Why is it necessary? And how does the approach changes? And the choice relies on vulnerability status and the position on bidding, whether it's direct or on the balancing sheet. So next lecture, we're going to look at overcalls. There are some concepts of overcalls we're going to look into. Basic overcalls at 1 level or 2 level, 1 no trump or 3 no trump bidding, and jump overcalls. The reason we're not looking into 2 no trump and 4 no trump yet is that they're better utilized as conventions. From what I can tell is that 1 no trump and 3 no trump are as our openings with a slight condition, and jump overcalls we use as weak are exactly as preempts. So that's all there is for today's lesson. I hope this would help throughout the whole series of lectures that Kyouko would have. Signing off for now.